Today we are ranking every named avatar with actual canon feats from weakest to strongest. No philosophical deep dives, no padding, just raw power, skill, and who walks away alive in a fight. Coming in at number 8 is Avatar Sito. Look, somebody has to be at the bottom, and unfortunately, it's the guy who chooses to have a mid-level accounting job. Sito was a Fire Nation avatar who inherited a world ruined by plagues and a massive economic collapse. He didn't fight warlords. He took a job as a low-level minister and spent years literally crunching numbers to fix the Fire Nation's inflation. Now, is he entirely defenseless? Absolutely not. We have exactly one flashback of Sito in the Avatar state simultaneously erupting 4 separate volcanoes. That is a massive display of raw bending force. But outside of that one singular feat, Sito was a desk jockey. He spent his life navigating bureaucracy, not fighting in the trenches. Put him in a one-on-one arena match with anyone else on this list, and he's getting thoroughly outclassed. At number 7, we have Avatar Kuruk. For the longest time, the fandom treated Kuruk like the lazy surfer bro who let his wife get stolen by Ko the Face Stealer. The Kyoshi novels totally flipped this narrative. Kuruk was actually a terrifyingly lethal hunter. Because the previous avatar ignored the spirit world, Kuruk spent his entire life secretly hunting down massive, demonic dark spirits that were bleeding over into the physical world. He was a prodigy who mastered the elements effortlessly and created completely new hunting techniques. The problem? Killing dark spirits literally rots your soul. By his late 20s, Kuruk was physically and spiritually hollowed out. He was chronically exhausted, sick, and self-medicating with alcohol. He died at 33. At his peak, he was a lethal assassin, but his severely crippled stamina places a hard ceiling on his overall ranking. Number 6 is the original himself, Avatar Wan. Wan's origin story is legendary. He survived in the spirit wilds, learned firebending directly from a dragon, and managed to permanently imprison Vaatu, the literal embodiment of darkness. He had insane agility, using his Nimbus Cloud technique to dart around the battlefield, and his endurance was incredible. So, why is the guy who beat the ultimate evil sitting at number 6? Simply put, his avatar state is the weakest. The avatar state grants the user the combined skills and knowledge of all past lives. Wan didn't have past lives. When his eyes glowed, he only got a raw power boost from Rava. He was the pioneer, which means every avatar that came after him took his foundational skills and built upon them. He walked so the rest of this list could run. Taking the number 5 spot is Avatar Roku. Roku is a powerhouse. When he confronts Firelord Sozin, he completely dismantles him in about 5 seconds without breaking a sweat. His control over the elements is incredibly refined, and the sheer scale of his earthbending and firebending during his final stand against the volcano is visually insane. But Roku has 2 massive flaws. First, he hesitates. His unwillingness to put Sozin in the ground directly led to the 100-Year War. Second, his mobility and physical combat skills are completely average. He relies almost entirely on standing still and throwing out massive, overwhelming blasts of elements. Against normal benders, that makes him a god, but against the top tier avatars who combine massive elemental output with insane speed and physical durability, Roku is going to get overwhelmed. Number 4 is Avatar Yang Chen. If you only watch the show, you might think she was just a peaceful air nomad who gave Aang some harsh advice. If you read the novels, you know Yang Chen was an absolute menace. She was so ruthless and effective that for an entire generation after she died, the world was completely at peace because nobody wanted to risk her coming back from the dead to finish the job. Yang Chen didn't pull punches. She utilized devastating soundbending techniques, literally screaming with enough concentrated force to shatter stone and permanently blow out her enemies' eardrums. She fought massive spirit beasts and engaged in brutal close quarters combat. She completely abandoned the air nomad pacifist ideology the second she entered a fight. The only reason she doesn't crack the top 3 is because the remaining avatars have completely game-breaking feats.
Kicking off the top 3 is Avatar Korra. Korra catches a lot of hate from fans, but if we are talking strictly about combat and physical dominance, she is a complete monster. From the time she was a toddler, she could bend 3 elements. She is arguably the most physically strong avatar we've ever seen, fighting like a heavy-hitting MMA brawler. Let's look at her durability. She survived being suffocated, she fought off literal bloodbending through sheer willpower, and she engaged in a massive aerial dogfight with Zahir while her veins were pumping with highly lethal metallic poison. Then, in the series finale, she stood her ground and physically bent a point-blank spirit beam that was tearing a hole in the fabric of reality. She mastered metal bending, she energy bent, and she fought the Dark Avatar. Her only major drawback is the loss of her past lives. Losing that connection removed the thousands of years of tactical experience that the Avatar state usually provides. But even relying purely on her own raw talent and Rava's power, Korra is an absolute physical tank who earned the number 3 spot. In the runner-up spot at number 2 is Avatar Aang. Aang's biggest advantage over everyone else on this list is his speed and his status as a complete prodigy. Keep in mind, nearly every other avatar had decades to master the elements. Aang mastered water, earth and fire in less than 12 months, and he did it while actively being hunted across the globe as a 12-year-old kid. Aang's fighting style makes him nearly untouchable. His agility and mastery of airbending mean you simply cannot hit him. By the time he fought Fire Lord Ozai, he was deflecting lightning, compressing boulders into machine gun fire, and creating a multi-elemental sphere of destruction that let him fly at supersonic speeds. Furthermore, Aang still had the complete Avatar state. When he goes into the Avatar state, he isn't just getting a power boost. He is channeling the lethal combat experience of Wan, Yang Chen, Roku, and hundreds of others. He learned energy bending to permanently strip people of their power, and as an adult, he was strong enough to casually throw entire cities out of the way. He is the ultimate elusive fighter. Which brings us to number 1. The strongest avatar in the history of the franchise is Kyoshi. Everything about Kyoshi is completely oversized. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, she lived to be 230 years old, and her bending was so powerful that she literally struggled to move small objects without accidentally shattering them. If Aang is a sniper rifle, Kyoshi is a nuclear bomb. When Qin the Conqueror marched his army to her doorstep, she didn't just fight him. She used lava bending and air bending to physically snap a massive peninsula off the mainland and push an entire island out into the ocean. That alone is the single greatest raw display of earthbending in the franchise. But the novels are where she truly becomes terrifying. Kyoshi didn't just rely on big moves. She learned the assassination technique of dust stepping, allowing her to walk on thin air by bending microscopic particles of dust. She learned how to literally freeze people's hearts inside their chests. When she fought the earthbending prodigy Yun, the battle was so violent it permanently altered the geography of the surrounding area. She bathed in the blood of her enemies and ruled the world through sheer, unadulterated fear. She had the largest raw elemental output, the most brutal fighting style, and an absolute willingness to put her opponents in the dirt permanently. Kyoshi is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the Avatar universe. That's the list. If you think Aang should be number 1, or if you think Korra deserves to be lower, drop a comment and let me know why I'm wrong. Hit the like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one.